What is a community garden? What images come to mind? Raised garden beds, individual family plots, vacant city lots revitalized to grow food? The truth is, the shape and purpose of a community garden can vary dramatically. Members of community gardens everywhere have begun to take action against growing food insecurities in the most cost-effective way possible: growing their own. According to the United States Department of Agriculture, city and suburban farms and gardens now provide about 15% of the world's food supply. Eureka's oldest community garden, the Henderson Community Garden, was founded in the 1980s and has almost exclusively been a Hmong garden since then. The lot accommodates up to 24 plots. Gardeners grow food and medicinal plants to nourish their families and preserve their cultural identities. This garden is a place where the Hmong reaffirm and maintain their agrarian traditions, passing down cultivation techniques and a taste for their unique foods to their children, creating important generational ties.
Food for People started the Henderson Community Garden almost 25 years ago, I think, and it was a very grassroots kind of effort. The Hmong community quickly emerged as the folks who were most interested, and that's, due to their background as an agrarian culture.
Here, whole families gather to work side by side at different tasks related to tending the land. The garden does not just provide sustenance to the families who shape it daily. This place they will share with you also nourishes their spiritual and cultural existence.
Tôi tới trên nó chui tiểu chi để nó chui tiểu trâu như một lọ cháu không nó chỉ muốn nhớ tao la liền.
Ôi Ali, tới nào cũng tao rau nó này, cái tao rau rồi cũng chế nên nó này.
Cô gia nên chữ liền, cô tao chỉ trong cô tao trâu, sao trong nó tuổi, lửa nó cũng cho nó ta chơi cũng ta khác cho đuối cho người ta thiết sư cho họ ta là chim mà cho không nó cho tao nó giờ cái tế mà muốn cho thêm mua sữa bây giờ nó thì tiền chim họ tao nó thì cho trong chỗ bây cho nó ít chữ chim nhớ bị ta làm gì cả cho tao nó chỉ bây giờ tao muốn ít cho lâu cho nhớ tới không có.
Across the United States, cities and nonprofits are beginning to plan for increasing food insecurities, recognizing the important link between open spaces and community gardening. Access to healthy, affordable foods is a big factor contributing to the need to protect open spaces for gardens.
Part of the unique and exciting work of RCA is the fact that most of our programs recognize the interconnected nature of community-based needs and interests. Transportation and food and housing, all of these things relate inextricably, and to try and work on one without the other is difficult to do. And so the fact that we have all of these different programs working in concert makes community gardens and our efforts toward increasing food security nest well within our broader mission.
It's nice to recreate, but the fact that food security is tied into these community garden spaces, to me, elevate them to a level of importance that's beyond just recreation. And I hate to prioritize what's most important, but food security is absolutely at the bottom rung of Maslow's triangle or pyramid, and we all need to eat.
Although community gardens increase food securities, self-sufficiency, and have innumerable health benefits, many such spaces, like the Henderson Garden, face the threat of dislocation or evictions.
It seemed like a change in the economy and a change in the nature and makeup of the city council were always factors that we had no control over that could ultimately dictate the future of the garden. At different times when city budgets were tight, there were proposals to sell the property.
For the city, the garden is often narrowly defined as a piece of property, reducible to its potential monetary value. In making the case to sell, The garden has been referred to as surplus, vacant, or in non-use.
It seemed like every time there was a change in city council, you had to re-educate everyone about the history of the plot and that it was donated to the city as green space, which in our view meant that that should be left open for people to enjoy.
So how did the Hmong come to occupy this small garden space? Were it not for our involvement in the Vietnam War, the Hmong might not have the presence in the United States that they do today. The contours of our urban landscape provide a biography that narrates the intersection between the geopolitical and the will to survive. Ours is a collision of histories. They came here after the war as political refugees. They fought on the side of the U.S. military for 15 years. Thousands of Hmong soldiers and families were killed. There was no peace for the Hmong when the U.S. pulled out of Southeast Asia. They were hunted down and killed or driven out of their villages. Most of them were sent to refugee camps. Some of them made their way out. As a country, we honor those who sacrificed to support U.S. military endeavors. As a community, we reflect those values. The Hmong are part of our community, not only as veterans of the Vietnam War, but also as casualties. They've been uprooted and transplanted and have taken on the challenges of making this their home.
Thọ là gọi là sao mùa bé theo tàu tây or rau rồi bé chế ninh nó bé mùa chế bé chỉ mùa tây or chế bé chế ninh chỉ tàu rau nó.
I think it's important that the wider community respect and let this garden stay in this community, is because it's a land that's being used, and there's 24 different plots. That means 24 different families are using this plot, and it's all for growing food. It's a good use of land to garden and grow food and feed your own family, and also like eating healthy and getting exercise. Like all of those are important and very valuable.
I would like to see garden in every front yard, and people who live in apartments to have planters and put food in it, and we call them victory gardens. And they had victory gardens during World War II because there was a real shortage. A lot of the agricultural production, a lot of production in the country was focused in the World War II, on supplying the troops. Right now, we need a victory against obesity and food insecurity, and I think we could really, it'd be wonderful if we just keep this community garden and homegrown food movement going, because I think it could be an economical way for people to eat right and feel pride in it and feel some connectedness with the land and with the community.
Came home one day, blurted out something like, I'm gay and I don't know what to do about it, because back then nobody talked about it.
Spirituality has always been an important part of my life. I've always had a need to see something beyond myself.
I've been a Christian since I was a very young girl, and I was very active in the church. I remember as a little girl praying for people all over the world, and I just wanted to help people.
I've grown up going to church with my mom. through the years and with my grandmother when she was alive. For me, it's a part of a tradition that I accept parts of it, and I parts of it I don't accept. But my mom, for instance, when she found out I was gay, she asked her priest to advise her regarding what would happen to me and my soul. And he told her that if I was a practicing lesbian, I would go to hell. I think it was within the following week, he was indicted for molesting young boys, and he went on to be prosecuted, I believe, for that. But for her, that was a turning point in not accepting everything that was spoken to her in the dogma of the church.
I think it's terrible when churches try to dictate the way people have to live when there's so many other commandments in the Bible that they don't follow.
I've seen in my years in my professional work that the key that helps people cope with their life is self-acceptance. If they have that, they can deal with most things. But many of my clients don't have that for various reasons. It could be family rejection. It could be a severely critical parent. It could be failures in their lives and disappointments and divorces. But the deepest, in my experience, is rejection by their faith community, their minister, because they no longer feel a child of God. They feel unacceptable.
The placards that people carry about you're going to hell if you're a homosexual, and all this hate and anger and wrath that people had. And I began to look at the lesbian people that I knew, and they were in long-term relationships. Some of those people had children. We are nurses, we're doctors, we're social workers, we're ministers, we're in every walk of life, and we're good people. And whenever the love of God doesn't match up with the view of scriptures, I realize that I need to go back and take a look. Okay, what's being said here? And how is this being interpreted by people? How are men interpreting this to fit their own needs and their own fears? Some of the deliverance sessions, I would be laying on the floor, and these were mostly in charismatic circles, but people would be yelling in tongues. They would yell like that at me, and come out, you foul spirit, come out. And I dealt with that, and then I had to get up after that and live my life. And people may think that, that's clear on the other edge of Christianity. But believe me, it goes on more than you know.
When the Proposition 8 arguments began, my mother was very upset by this, and she asked me how I wanted her to deal with this in the church. She said, I feel so conflicted. And they did stand up and speak, the priest from the pulpit, and asked the congregation to vote yes on 8. And as they left the church, they had yard signs for the Yes on 8 campaign. I accept everybody's position in this and where people need to be. But the mistake, I believe, in whatever your spiritual belief is to believe that you need to impose it on someone else and tell them that they cannot be who they are.
In my mind, it's about love and taking care of each other. And you're going to do that anyway. It's just a piece of paper. Why can't I have what you have? I'm a tax-paying American. I served my country honorably. I want what I want. I'm entitled to that. Why can't I have that? Because I love differently? That's absurd.
I had a young client in my chair who, it was his first time in my chair, real cute young guy. He was probably about 11 years old. And he was asking me questions about, hair and molecules and bugs and all the things that little kids ask about. And he asked me if I had a husband. And I said, no, honey, I have a girlfriend. And he said, his first response was to go, oh. He goes, I'm so sorry about Prop 8. This was right after the vote had come in, and it had turned out to be yes on 8. He said, I'm so sorry for you. And I told him, I said, honey, because of sweet little people like you who understand how important this is, it won't always be this way.
There was a time I believed life was over for me. There was a
Hello, Jungnan. Hello.
This idea started formulating of, rather than have it be a language, because that's originally the paradigm that was constructed, was that it was sort of a language program. And I thought, oh yeah, language. What is a language that really speaks to us on a human level? And I thought, well, the arts. This community is so full of amazing, wonderful, artistic people. I'm just going to make some calls and see if, some people might be interested in putting together some workshops. And so immediately, everybody I called, Del Arte, the International Physical Theater, and Laurel Sky, this, amazing mosaicist, and the people from the dance community. I mean, everybody I contacted, just without even thinking about it, was just like, oh yeah, well, we would love to do something like that.
During my performance, I encouraged them to dance with me after I did, and they did come on the stage, and I was really, really happy with that. There are American kids and Chinese kids, and I feel so good. They found a connection. I can tell totally, even they don't speak that much English between the interaction, but from a lot of nonverbal communication, the way they hold hands, they are doing things together. They are running here and there and just chatting and laugh. Because I'm coming from Taiwan and they are from China, politically we are different, but language-wise or in general cultural background, we are the same. So there is something very interesting that I hear the girl is in the back and calling me Taiwanese. Okay. I see the more global pictures of connecting things together, and I just feel this is really exciting program to help people to have bigger pictures to overcome those difficult feelings, or even overcome those political issues or cultural issues behind that. And plus, my husband is Latin and I'm Chinese, but I live here, and my dance is Spanish dance, and so I do feel really, really multicultural inside of me, and I see it's very beautiful things to share that with kids, and I hope from this experience they just have more open-minded heart and to share the experience with others.
Yeah, we didn't really know that much going into it about how old the child would be or how much language ability they would have, but to us it was just a great opportunity to have another point of connection in that region of the world. And we knew being where she was from that she would have the same Szechuanese Mandarin dialect that my daughter would have heard for the first year of her life when she was being cared for by nannies in an orphanage. So that was very attractive to us to have another way to put those two halves of the world together in our household.
One time I wanted to find out from one of the boys what church he goes to in China, because his bio said something about loving Jesus, and his parents are Christians. And I put in my question, and they went through all kinds of finagling, and the answer came out, I like oatmeal. And so on Sunday morning we had oatmeal for breakfast.
We anticipated saying goodbye to Jessica, and we prepared our kids for that this was temporary, that this was just for a 10-day or 7-day program. And even with the preparation for that, we got down to the day she was leaving, and I noticed our exchange student became quiet, and it was difficult. There was a lot of crying, and as the mom, I was trying to just keep us all moving in the same direction, keep it positive, say goodbye.
Bye, Sunny.
My husband, I look over at him, and it's like a death had occurred. He's 6'3", he's a big man, and he's just sobbing. It was just a connection that was surprising, most surprising to him. This was heartfelt. It wasn't an accident that she landed in our family.